of Rule B54.1 in that he was guilty of careless riding, in that he'd manoeuvred right when insufficiently clear. They've given him a one-day suspension, which is Sunday the 19th of May. So Richard Hughes will miss Sunday the 19th of May. I'm sure he will cope with that. Right, they bet 5-1 at the field, Steve. Since we see Shropshire on the way down, shall we touch upon his return? Well, it wasn't his return effort, it was his second effort of the year at Doncaster, because it's got form that ties in with both Hitchens and Hamza here.
Well, he's run two really good races, very similar efforts, come from some way back in two runs at Doncaster. Last time he came from virtually last and cruised through to challenge and just got beat by a horse who went on to run very well in the Abernet next time out. The form's pretty solid.
Yes.
But he ties up very closely with Hamza, who was much more prominently ridden that day and ended up about a length and 3/4 behind Shropshire, but at the weights there's not much between them, and Hitchens, who split the two. So at the weights there's very little between them. The doubt about Shropshire is the drying ground. His very, very best form has come so far with a bit more cut in the ground. He's it's been a winning system so far. He's very sweaty and edgy beforehand. I don't know whether he was at Doncaster. I wasn't there either time. Hitchens and Hamza, I say, they'll certainly like the ground, and at the weights there's not much between those two with Shropshire.
Shropshire was, of course, runner-up in this corresponding race 12 months ago. That came off a mark of 90. He's off 99 today. The prolific Hitchens, 9 times a winner, his 54th racecourse appearance, but his first visit to Newmarket's Rowley Mile. What about Ladyship? So Michael Stout and Ryan Moore are looking for a quick fire double, Steve. She was progressive last year. She ought to find this stiff 6 furlongs about ideal, I think.
Yeah, she's interesting if she's cherry ripe, I think, because she beat Tickle Pink in the Leicester Maiden. I'm not taking that form literally, but clearly that's got a boost with that horse winning the Abernet. But good efforts in 3 handicaps after, ended up being a length over this course and distance. There were no doubts about the track. Up £4 is perfectly fair given the progressive nature of her career last season. Yard, as we know, is in tremendous form. If she's fitting well, she could have a good year this year.
She's drawn in stall 13. The 3 that we talked about previously, Hitchens, Hamza and Shropshire, are all drawn in single figures, 4, 6 and 7 respectively. It's a double figure draw in 11 for Amadeus Wolftone, at 4 times the winner. Now he is off a mark £9 higher than the latest of those successes. Does need to bounce back a bit from his return effort.
Yeah, you make the case more than me. Over 7 furlongs his return where he didn't run so well. Now tell me, you were making a bit of a case for him to me.
Well, I thought there were possibly 2 reasons. Well, there might be 3 reasons he might have needed his first run. The trip was one of them. The absence of Spencer, I think, and his return to the saddle, I think he's a plus. He's ridden Amadeus Wolftone twice in the past, 2nd and 1 success. Cheap Pieces are back on today, and they weren't on for the Kempton run. So there were reasons for believing, I think, that Amadeus Wolftone is capable of far better than he showed on his return, and he probably ought to have won his final start at Kempton last year.
All of those are telling case. I think particularly the Cheap Pieces it did seem to like. So yeah, okay, that's the case.
So that's the chances of Amadeus Wolftone. Should we talk about Poole Harbour,
yes,
if we can? Because he made a more than pleasing return when only just inched out of it at Windsor.
He ran really well. That's probably as good as he's run. It was quite a bunch finish, but he only got beat a nose. £2 hike is perfectly fair given he's clearly in very good form. He's run well at Newmarket in the past. Of the likely horses to be ridden somewhere up there, he's probably the highest drawn. There's a fair bit of a more obvious pace in the single figure numbers. We'll have to see how it pans out, whether they go straight up the centre. We'll see. But this horse, it really ought to run well on the back of a very good reappearance run.
Okay. Gabriel's Lad was progressive in 2012, first start of the year. Dennis Coakley trains, twice a winner, £5 higher than his latest mark, but only 9 starts. He ought to have more to offer this time around.
Definitely. Again, like a couple we've already mentioned, very progressive last year. Proven on the July course. It's not identical, but at least there are similarities at least. That's runner up there. 3rd at York, 1 at Ascot. All good tracks. £5 higher than the winning at Ascot, but was progressive and goes on any ground, so conditions shouldn't be a problem.
So Gabriel's Lad heading the market at a 5-1 here. Hitchens an 11-2 chance, the same price as Hamza. 6 is Ladyship, 8 Shropshire, 12 Poole Harbour, 14-1 Gold Dream, who's interesting. First start for Robert Cowell.
Very interesting. Yardley does very well with sprinters. Did well for Luca Cumani last year. Won a maiden and a handicap. And ended the year still running really well. Decent third in what was a very competitive handicap at Doncaster. £3 higher for that. And I'm saying the same thing about a lot of horses here, but was improving at the end of last year. And as I say, has gone to a yard which specialises in sprinters. So we'll have to see how he gets on.
It ought, over the coming weeks, to pay to follow the form of this race, because it looks as though it's chock full of progressive sprinters.
Definitely. We had a sprint handicap yesterday, which 3-year-olds we had, which again looked really reliable. I feel the same about this. I know they're older horses, but a lot of them, you feel, hadn't finished their progression last year. They were ending the year in good form. They're relatively lightly raced, and you can see horses like this featuring in some of the big races later in the year.
Swiss Cross going in on a jockey change. Paul Hannigan replacing Rachel Neller. Gabriel's Lad is still to go, and he's going to be one of the last going into a stall 8 next door to Shropshire. So with the final ones heading in for what looks to be a keenly contested sprint handicap, prize fund of £45,000 up for grabs. Let's return to the commentary box and rejoin Richard.
Thanks, Stuart. Couple to go, and they are Living Leader and Hamza, who's likely to be one of those that gets an early call or two. Blue headgear out towards the centre of the course. So just about all set. 6 furlong handicap. And they're off and racing to a reasonable line. Living Leader was a little bit slow away. Hamza out in the centre shows up, and that's where the majority of the runners are clustering, with Poole Harbour. Swiss Cross chasing the pace with Amadeus, Wolftone, Pearl Ice is handy in that group. The 4 coming down the stand side, headed by Dr. Parks ahead of Ladyship Wallet, and at the ear of that group is Living Leader. Hamza overall leader out in the centre. Dr. Parks, Swiss Cross, with the coming together now of the 2 groups with Poole Harbour and Pearl Ice. Ladyship's red, white and blue just ahead of Wallet. Shropshire tracks Amadeus, Wolftone in midfield. Gabriel's Lad in a similar position on the inside of Gold Dream. Hitchins, Pink Cap towards the outside of the group in company with Shropshire Johannes, and at the rear of the field is Al Khan. So it's Hamza who leads down past halfway in the blue headgear. From in second place, pushed along Poole Harbour, then Swiss Cross. Ladyship tries to begin a challenge with Dr. Parks under the near side, but Hamza's found a little bit out in front, running downhill, has a lead of a couple of lengths now from Gabriel's Lad, who's moved out of the pack. Battling on is Poole Harbour. Hamza uphill for home, has a furlong or so to last. Shropshire trying to get through. Carr finds his path badly blocked, and Hamza's 2 lengths clear here and will make every single yard. It's Hamza who comes home in front from Gabriel's Lad. Third for Poole Harbour. Unlucky horse was Shropshire. Dr. Parks next, and behind these was Swiss Cross.
A 4th career success for Hamza, who's made just about all one suspects here, has dictated this 6 furlong handicap and run out a worthy winner under Neil Callan for Kevin Ryan and Mubarak Al-Naemi, scoring off a mark, well, virtually a stone higher than his last success last year, but he'd been progressive in 2012, rounding off with a run on suitably soft ground, and then a pleasing 4th behind Shropshire and Hitchins in that Doncaster race. He got away from him here. This was an intelligent ride, Steve.
He did. He showed good pace. I hope this isn't a sign of what might happen in the Finnish Classic. The jockeys seem to be getting more and more convinced that the stand side is the place to be. So that might be interesting in our next race. But the winner, however the race won, would have won. I mean, the ground, I think the drying ground really suited. It showed really good pace when 4th in a race where Shropshire was 2nd and Hitchins was 3rd last time. He did best of the 3, although to be fair, you couldn't judge Shropshire on this run. He had an absolute nightmare passage through. He remains in good form. I think he's come 4th. He would have been a lot closer. I don't think he would have beaten the winner personally. The winner was just at every stage was travelling well. But, you certainly would have liked to have found out. He was very much disadvantaged the way the race was run.
Yeah, it didn't drop for Shropshire today, and in truth it didn't look likely to drop for him from just after halfway.
No, it'd been yesterday. They raced to the centre and had options. Even the first race today, it might have been different, but you say it appears to be, even though a lot of the pace was drawn low, they have edged across. I have a feeling this is what might happen, say 30-40 minutes time. Anyway, by the winner has kicked, very classic Newmarket ride, showed good pace, has accelerated going down to the dip, which he handled really well, and actually never looked like coming back up the hill. Shropshire had already had to switch position 2 or 3 times. He finds even more trouble in a minute when trying to squeeze between 2 horses. Actually finished. I'd say he would have been battling away with Gabriel Lad and Poole Harbour for second and third. I think that's as far as it goes personally, but I think he found the test an insufficient test. Well, it's not so much that it doesn't go on this sort of ground, it's just it's more of a test of slip. Exactly. But he's run really well. Paul Harbour is a very much informed horse, ran great at Windsor's, run great again. Gabriel's lad progressive last year. You said about 10 minutes ago it's a race which is likely to work it out. I don't think anything that's happened here makes you think otherwise.
No. And if, as the afternoon progresses, it becomes clear there is a bias towards the near side run